Hey friend, it's episode 404 of the Keto Diet Podcast. My name is Leanne Vogel. I love that you're hanging out with me today. After today's episode, if you want to catch up with me, you can go to healthfulpursuit.com. That's my website. If you follow me on Instagram, great, welcome. Hey, if you don't, my Instagram handle is at Leanne Vogel. Send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. Today we're talking about sweating and the benefits of sweating, why it's important to sweat, why I love sweating. So I'll tell you a little story. In about August 2021, I started getting involved in detoxifying mold and heavy metals from my body. That's when I got super serious about it for myself personally. I knew that I was ready. I knew my body could handle it. And I knew that I wanted to sweat out a lot of the stuff. Well, my house is very small. I live on a boat. I have barely any space for anything. I have to be so careful about what we bring in because there's just not a lot of space. Okay. So I started going to the local gym to get my sweat on, and those saunas are not taken care of. At least the one that I went to was pretty much disgusting. Like, I hate to use that word because it's quite offensive, but it was really bad. So I maybe went in there for 2 months and then decided, okay, I need to figure out a sauna solution with not a lot of space, like barely any space. And what I really wanted was a therasage sauna. I've always dreamt about having that sort of setup again. When I lived in an actual house, we had a tent sauna. I loved it so much. I spoke about it quite highly, but when we moved into our RV, I had to sell it, and then I just didn't really have a sauna solution. So I really wanted a therasage, which is like a tent sauna, and by far one of my most favorite options because you're sitting and it's just great. So if you're looking for that sort of situation, I do have a coupon code for therasage. It's healthful, all in caps, for 10% off. But that wasn't going to work for me. Also, therasage is expensive. I will give it that. Okay, it's good, but it's pricey. And so I needed something that wasn't that pricey and could be tucked away in a drawer. And that's when I started researching blanket saunas. Now, there are a couple of blanket saunas out there. The reason why I ultimately chose MiHigh is a lot to do with their marketing. Okay. Some of the other ones use a lot of like naked people and sex to sell. And it wasn't my cup of tea. I get really uncomfortable over that kind of stuff now. And I just didn't want to support that kind of brand, really. When I reached out to other brands, they weren't very responsive and they didn't care to answer my questions. And so that's ultimately what drove me to MiHigh. So I bought my blanket. I didn't get it with the experience kit originally. And so I started using the blanket. I wanted the experience kit, which is basically a blanket sauna that kind of like rolls out like a sleeping bag. You get into it, but you're directly in contact with the heat. And so MiHigh suggests that you wear clothes. Well, I don't really like wearing clothes. It just feels really awkward. So I got an experience kit, which is basically a towel and a spray bottle. And I used it for, I don't know, maybe a month. And now I'm back to just going in there naked. I know they say to not do it, but if somebody's going to tell me not to do it, I'm probably going to do it and love it. So that's just about me. What I love about just the sauna blanket idea is that it's easy to clean. Okay. You just wipe it down. It's super inexpensive compared to other options, which are crazy. And it doesn't take up a lot of space. And so, like I said earlier, I really wanted to use this solution to just open up my drainage pathways, start detoxing, and really help to encourage blood flow improvement, sleep improvement. My skin was really dry at that point and just like not right. I wanted to use it to calm myself. I really started using it for detoxification and then quickly learned that I could improve my sleep with it. Okay, so I've been using MiHigh for over a year at this point. I'm so incredibly impressed with them. I love it so much. They've come up with a version 2. I don't personally have the version 2. I'm sure I'll save up at some point for it, but I love the one that I have, and I don't see wasting money to get a new one when mine is perfectly fine. But I do have clients that have the version 2 and that have had the version 1 and they like the 2 more. So there's that. Okay, so if you want to grab a MiHigh blanket after today's episode, we put together a code for you and details. So if you go to healthfulpursuit.com/MiHigh, that's MIHIGH, and use the code Leanne, you can get $75 off. So the code is LEANNE for $75 off. Okay, so today's interview, I wanted to do it with Ed. He's the co-founder of MiHigh, a wellness brand making infrared saunas more accessible. And I've just talked about MiHigh and how much I love them. So let's get to this interview. Hey, I'm Leanne Vogel, and you're listening to the Keto Diet Podcast. I've put together a free 21-page guide on achieving weight loss on your keto diet if nothing is working, as a little thank you for being here today. Grab your free guide at ketoforwomen.com to get the steps you need to overcome the hurdles standing in your way. Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
No worries. I'm very excited. Very excited to be here.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I already did your official bio, but why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm the co-founder of MiHigh and just a all-round lover of wellness when it comes to, I guess, also food. And I've dabbled in the keto diet myself as well, but also some of the cool tech that's coming out right now, as well as just keeping fit myself. So yeah, happy to talk about all things wellness.
And why sauna? Like, why are you in this space? What about it made you gravitate toward it?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story, actually. So myself and my co-founder Wyatt, we very similar interests, and we used to go to an infrared sauna all the time, but we had to book in to go to a sauna in, a wellness center or a spa, and they weren't always available, and we had to travel to go there, and we had to pay every time, obviously. And so we were in our mid to early 20s, and we're sitting in the sauna and thinking it would be great to just have one of these in our own home because we could use it every day and it would just be so much more convenient. But we didn't have an entire room to fit a whole sauna in, and we certainly didn't have $5,000 either to spend on one. So we began thinking, okay, well, what if there's a more portable version? And the rest is history. Here we are.
That's so amazing. And I mean, you touched on a couple of the pain points of other sauna options. That was definitely what brought me to a sauna blanket solution, because I have zero space in my home. And so even those tents, they have like sauna tents.
Yeah.
I don't even have enough space for a sauna tent. And so I was like, that's not going to work. And I mean, I had one of those like larger tents. That's totally not going to work. And then you have the standalone lights, but that doesn't make you sweat enough. I mean, it's great to just have in the background for red light, but it doesn't really do much. I mean, you need a whole wall of those things, and that's really expensive. And so, yeah, process of elimination with budget and just space constraints. I mean, the blanket is a great option. Now, had the blanket existed at the time that you guys were creating this idea? Had other people done this? What was kind of that process like? Like, were you the first ones to do a blanket, or did that technology already exist?
Yeah, so the technology already existed, but in various different qualities. We found a couple that had some very poor materials and things like that. You might have seen those kind of silver-looking blankets that look like they're kind of almost made out of foil. But there was probably like one other brand that was doing it so far. But then since we've launched, there's a lot more that have cropped up, and I think it's becoming more mainstream as an alternative, to the regular box saunas.
Completely. And when I started on my search of like, okay, I know I want a sauna. I need to sweat. I need to open up my sweat drainage pathways. Cause like, guys, I am the person that I could go outside in 100-degree weather and not sweat at all. And I knew that this was a big issue for me. And so I knew I wanted a blanket, and I went to one of the websites and I'm searching, and right there on their page, they said that they used fire retardants in their materials. And I'm like, what? So you're going to heat up materials that have fire retardants, and you don't think that that's, I don't know, you're not going to breathe that in or soak that up? It was really hard to find a blanket or a sauna solution that didn't have poor materials, actually.
Yeah. It's, we got to go through very, very rigorous testing, because there's lots of things out there that you don't want to be breathing in, for sure. So very important to do those checks.
Oh, that sound of magic. I just shook a packet of Element Recharge watermelon salt in your ear. And if you're anything like me, you just salivated because you know that your body needs copious amounts of sodium to maintain your ketogenic diet. Now, sodium is the body's great solvent. It's a primary alkalizer. It's regulated by the adrenal glands, aka aldosterone, actually. It regulates the blood pressure. It increases heart rate. It maintains fluid balance and maintains pH levels. It also influences stomach acid levels. So if you don't have enough sodium, you're not going to be making stomach acid. You're going to be welcoming in parasites and all those sorts of things. I say to my clients, think of your stomach acid like the initial wall that stops all those little critters from getting in. Sodium also influences cellular membrane permeability and so much more. In addition, it's not just sodium you're going to find in Element electrolytes. You're also going to find 200 milligrams of potassium. Did you know that the average body needs about 3,000 milligrams of potassium per day? I challenge you today to look at your food log and see how little potassium you're eating on a daily basis. This is a primary solvent mineral. Just like sodium, it's an intracellular mineral. It regulates the blood pressure with sodium. It maintains fluid balance, pH levels of the body. It influences cellular membrane permeability. It sensitizes the cell to thyroid hormone. So if you're having issues with your thyroid, the number one mineral you need to be thinking about is potassium. It also influences nerve conduction of the heart. It lowers heart rate, dilates arteries, and so many good things. So I just went through 2 of the 3 main minerals in Element electrolytes. Now, what I love about Element electrolytes is the flavor. They're really salty with 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving. This stuff is good. I have it in my water bottle beside me. Now, I've been sharing Element for at least 2 years. I love this stuff, and Element has been so gracious with the offer for our listeners. You get a sample pack with any of your orders on Element. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors and decide that watermelon salt is your favorite. No, I'm just kidding. It's my personal favorite. I love it. Same with the raspberry one, but you get to try them and let me know what you think. You can get yours by going to drinklmnt.com/KDP. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/KDP to get your single serving packets for free with any order. Try it totally risk-free, and if you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and they will give you your money back, no questions asked. You really have nothing to lose and everything to gain, so you can shake your Element along with me. I always carry it around in my purse. I couldn't imagine my keto life without it. And what does that testing look like for you? I know that once I found that website, and I'll just say the brand, Higher Dose, everyone talks about them. I went on their website. It said they had fire retardants. I went on social media. I asked them about it. They weren't honest. Like, they didn't get back to me, rather. They didn't get back to me for months. I tried reaching out to them. Finally, they reached out and said, you know, we take pride in our ingredients and all the things. And they had actually removed the information from their website. And so I take this stuff pretty seriously, you know, when I'm trying things. If I like it, I know I'm going to recommend it. And so what is your testing like, and what has that process been like for you guys?
Yeah, it's you have to comply with a lot of international standards, obviously, because there's legalities to everything. So in the detoxing world and the wellness world, there's obviously things that we know that aren't great for you, but are still like required from a legal perspective, if that makes sense. So it's pretty much a very, very detailed process with our manufacturer, who is best in class at red light and infrared heat and things like that knows the science, and then them doing a ton of testing with us, with a third party safety organization, to just pretty much find that middle ground, you know, between the healthiest blanket possible, but that also absolutely applies by all of the international safety laws for heating up infrared sauna blankets.
completely, because there's materials and there's heat involved. I'm sure you're kind of playing this dance between safety and healthfulness and kind of just trying to make both ends meet. And so since we're on the topic of materials and things, and we've talked about this for a couple minutes, what are the materials, like what makes up your blanket?
Yeah. So pretty much it's obviously you've got infrared heating in the middle, and then we have just some layers of waterproof layers and PU leather on the outside. So it's all the highest quality that you can get. And that's it really. It's very simple. Velcro to attach the blanket together, and that's it. All toxin free.
And that Velcro is very Velcro-y.
Yeah.
It really sticks. I was a little bit worried, like the air would escape out of it. And I'm like, is this really going to work? And it is very well done.
Yeah. The reason it works, like it works because of the infrared heat. If it was a regular, well, you wouldn't be able to do a regular sauna in a sauna blanket. But it works even though your head is out of the blanket because you're heating the body up from within. So yeah, it's infrared heat's great. I love it.
And something I notice, it's quite hot in there, and I'm sweating quite a bit, that the humidity goes out through the face, like where my face is. So my face is usually pretty sweaty and wet. I put a towel under my neck, and then I should really get a headband, like a sweatband. That would be really helpful. Yeah. So it's a lot of sweat for a girl that was not sweating. You guys, I'm not even kidding. Like I could go outside in the middle of summer in Florida and not sweat.
Wow.
It's pretty cool to see that change in a very short period of time. We're recording this podcast in November. I've been using the blanket for almost 2 months, and I'm sweating like outside, which I think that there's a lot of dialogue around the fact that sweating is not good and you shouldn't sweat and it's dirty and gross. But think of your body as having just a couple of ways that it can get stuff out. You know, you have your bowels, your breathing, urination, and sweat. And sweat is such a great detox pathway. It's one of the largest ones. And it's so effective at removing mycotoxins, heavy metals. So we'll get into the benefits a little bit more, but I want to kind of drill down on, you said far infrared. Now, is light going through the fabric, or how is that working?
Yeah.
For those who have no idea what you're talking about.
So the far infrared penetrates through the fabrics and then penetrates through your skin, which then heats up your body from within.
And how is that different from just being in a hot room?
So it's all about the wavelengths. So you've got lots of different wavelengths of light, which turns into heat. So you've got near infrared, you've got UV, you've got blue light, etc., and they all work differently. So when you step, the best way to explain it is in terms of how it feels is if you step. Have you ever stepped into a regular sauna? A non-infrared? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We have one in our community, and I have a very similar experience to you. It's just waiting forever.
Yeah. So when you get into a regular sauna and it's already hot, the heat hits you straight away, and it hits you kind of in the face, and you just feel it on the body, and you start to sweat relatively quickly. Whereas with an infrared sauna, the heat is not as kind of visibly hot. But what it does is because it penetrates the skin deeper, it then raises your heart rate more eventually and pumps more blood around the body, and it actually heats up the body, activates blood flow, and you begin to sweat even more, and your heart rate is even higher than it would be in a regular sauna. So it's a different experience. It's a slower build in an infrared sauna, but at the end it's almost like a workout, and it's a very, very different feeling.
Yeah, it is very much a slower build. So your blanket, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never gone up to the highest setting. It's 1 to 9.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm at a 5, and just yesterday I'm like, maybe I'll try a 6. Maybe, because it was so hot, a 6 was too much. But I notice on the 5 setting, and I'm going to ask you in a bit what those temperatures are and how it works. But on a 5 setting, I start sweating around the 30-minute mark, maybe 40 minutes. Like, my drainage pathways are slow and it's okay. But by 55 minutes, I'm like, this is like a workout. My heart is racing and I'm sweating like crazy.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like when I first discovered infrared saunas and realized how you can feel like you're having a workout by the end of it. It was, it was cool. It was a nice little find.
Completely. And so you're saying that the difference, like, I think a lot of people are aware of things like Juve, where you're standing in front of an actual red light. That differs from your product, which is wavelengths. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So it's just, that's light and you're not really going to get very hot. Whereas this is infrared sauna using far infrared heat.
Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about the heating levels. What do those mean? Do you have certain temperatures? Do they pulse differently? Like, what is the setting between 1 and 9? What can one expect in a 1 versus a 9 and the temperatures and such?
So pretty much 1 is about 95 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way up to 165 would be 9. So you can just do it in intervals from there.
Yeah, I'm at a 5. I tried a 6. No, that's not going to work for me right now. Do you find like over time people get more acclimatized to it and they increase slowly?
Yeah, they do. But at the end of the day, everyone's got their preferences and everyone's got their own individual unique bodies as well. Like you've got your preferences and you're wanting to use it to help your body to sweat more. Other people just bring it straight up. We recommend you start on that 5 to 6 mark. But people build up their tolerance over time for sure.
What sort of people are using your product? Like you were talking about the different types. That might be good for people to hear, like, people that want to build up sweat. Are there reasons why somebody would use your product or customers that you've chatted with?
Yeah, there's actually a really wide variety of people that use it, which is kind of cool. So we have a lot of elite athletes are using it now for just their recovery. So we've got professional rugby players, football players over in England. We've got some NFL players. We've even had to make a few custom blankets for NBA players because they're so tall. And we've got UFC athletes, boxers. Boxers use it a lot before their fight for cutting weight. And then down to everyday people that just love their wellness and enjoy looking after themselves, through to people that are just sauna lovers, but have, potentially through the pandemic, they haven't been able to access a sauna. So they've had a home option, through to people that want to burn a couple of extra calories, through to people that are just maybe wanting to there's a lot of different benefits that people can get from it. So maybe people want to detox more, so they'll use it. Or maybe they want to make sure they can flush out their skin on a regular basis, so they'll use it. So lots of different people, men, women, all kind of ages, all for some fairly different reasons, which is kind of cool.
I'm glad you mentioned the height thing because I'm 5'11" and I was really nervous I wasn't going to fit. Yeah. But it's good. It's good. I think if I were 6, maybe like 6'1", 6'2", it'd be pushing it a lot. But if anyone listening is around my height, and I'm constantly worried about my height being a limit to many, many things. So if you guys are listening or like, I don't think I'm going to fit in a blanket. If you're around 5'11", it's worked for me well.
Awesome. Glad to hear.
And so EMF, that's another piece to the heating and just the overall structure. Do you guys do EMF testing? Can you explain what EMF is and if it should be a concern using your product?
Yeah. So electromagnetic frequency, something that exists in a lot of things, like even the AirPods that I'm using right now have a lot, which I'm trying to reduce my AirPod consumption. But so as of when this podcast is going to be out, our blankets are going to be 0 EMF, which is very exciting. At the moment, our first version has low EMF. We were very specific with our manufacturer, want to get it as low as possible, but we couldn't get it to 0. And I don't think many blankets actually are 0, but as of March, it will be 0 EMF, which is super exciting. It's one of those things. My take on EMF is it's very difficult to avoid in your day-to-day life. Our Wi-Fi routers have it coming out 24/7. Our phones have it. If you carry your phone in your pocket, it's not going to be ideal if you have it day in, day out. AirPods, again, are quite actually very, very strong, like a tremendous amount stronger than an infrared sauna blanket, for example. But if you're being exposed to a very, very small amount for 45 minutes, it's fine. But the good news is they'll be at zero soon.
You remember about 10 years ago where everyone was using Natural Vitality Calm to boost their magnesium levels until they up and changed their recipe and then nobody uses it? Yeah. So I started using magnesium citrate and oxide to get myself regular. We're talking about bowel movements here. And it worked until it just didn't anymore. I was starting to react to the magnesium. I couldn't take any form of magnesium. It constantly hurt my stomach. I knew that it was a little bit to do with the fillers because let me tell you, there are tons of supplement companies that put crazy stuff in their products. Let me tell you, it's just too much. And so I shied away from magnesium, not really caring about my actual magnesium level, but just wanting to figure out something that would help with my bowel movements. So I chatted with a mentor. I've been so blessed to have amazingly smart people in my life that feed into me in so many different ways. And she had suggested that I do a hair tissue mineral analysis. So I did this analysis even though I thought that it would be absolutely stupid because I'd seen so many hair tissue mineral analysis over the years and I thought that there was no way that it would actually provide data. Turns out it was fantastic to the point where I did a full course on hair tissue mineral analysis so I could start using it in my practice because it was just so eye-opening. And as I started to dig deeper into my absolute ridiculous magnesium deficiency, I started learning how the mixture of different magnesiums are really good in order to fully develop magnesium in our body and have our stores be really, really good so we don't have any issues in the future. So that you understand what magnesium is, it's an intracellular mineral and a key element in cellular metabolism. It's needed for both glycolysis and the citric acid cycle. So we're talking about energy here. It's needed for over 500 different enzyme reactions in the body. It regulates sugar metabolism. It's involved in energy production. Its highest concentration is found in the muscles, liver, heart, and pancreas. Cell membrane permeability is maintained by magnesium. It helps with the relaxation of muscle and reduces inflammation. It's the heart mineral. And sodium actually increases the burn rate of magnesium. And so if you have inflammation, it'll drive up sodium and decrease magnesium. Okay, so it's really important to have our magnesium on point. When it's low, we're going to have osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, depression, PMS, cardiovascular disease, noise sensitivity, adrenal insufficiency, hypothyroidism, anxiety, hyperactivity, tremors, excessive sweating, convulsions, epilepsy. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. And so there's this relationship between calcium and magnesium. So we really need to understand that magnesium is such a key component to our overall health. And so I personally was not prioritizing this myself. And so when the hair tissue mineral analysis came back as me being like severely deficient in magnesium, I started researching magnesium. And I'm really lucky because my clients come to me with all sorts of protocols that they've been on and things. And I ask questions and I really try to understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. And the key pattern that I noticed with magnesium being leveled off in people when I would test them is that they were taking magnesium breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Now, I checked out the website and I was like, nah, I don't know. It looks kind of weird. I'm good. But when I started dealing with magnesium deficiency myself and seeing it firsthand, I was like, okay, I should probably just figure it out. So I started taking magnesium breakthrough by Bioptimizers in August of 2022. I then tested my hair tissue mineral analysis 3 months later, and I no longer had magnesium deficiency. This stuff is awesome. It's a blend of magnesium chelate, biglycinate. It's got some malate in there, some orotate, taurate, citrate, all blended together with a humic fulvic blend. And it has a little bit of manganese in there, a little bit of B6. You're actually going to absorb this stuff. And a little tip for magnesium and how much you need on a daily basis, it might blow your mind. You're going to need 5 times your weight in milligrams. Okay, so let's say you're 150 pounds, multiply that by 5. That means you need 750 milligrams of magnesium a day. Yes, I said that right. So I'm a huge fan of Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Now you know everything about magnesium that you could possibly know. If you want to check out Bioptimizers, go to bioptimizers.com and use the coupon code Keto Diet 10 for 10% off your Magnesium Breakthrough and all their awesome supplements. I just love them so much. Again, that's bioptimizers.com and using the coupon code Keto Diet 10.
That's so great. Okay, so anyone listening is going to get a different version than the blanket that I have. Have you made any changes other than the EMF piece to the new version that will be out when this podcast releases in March?
There will be a couple of changes. I can't reveal too many details, but there'll be a couple of design changes, a bit bigger, a bit lighter, just some general design upgrades that should make the experience a lot better, improve controller and things like that as well.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, maybe I'll have to
we'll make sure we get you on.
Gift mine to a friend.
Yeah.
It's great on the lighter piece. So we went to Disney World recently and I begged my husband. I was like, come on, I could totally bring my sauna with me. You know how much I hurt when I've been walking 30,000 steps. I totally should have brought it. He talked me out of it. That was a poor choice. But one of the reasons why he's like, oh, don't take it. It's kind of heavy. It's just to get it to the room and back. And I'm like, it's not that heavy, but for it to be lighter, even when you're sitting in the sauna or laying, I guess, on your bed in the blanket, when your feet are kind of bent down, the weight of the blanket kind of goes up against the top of your feet. And if I don't stretch out my feet straight, flex them, sometimes the weight will give me a good stretch anyways. But that's exciting that it'll be a little bit lighter.
Yeah. I mean, it's never going to be very, very light just due to the weight of the materials that we have to use for a product like this, and also the heating wires. But yeah, we're doing our best.
That's great. I can't wait to hear what else is changing. And one thing we didn't touch on when we were speaking about kind of how it's made is where it's made. Where are you guys located and where are your blankets sold and where are they made? Because I know that that's important to many listeners.
Yeah. So in terms of us as a business, the team is all around the world. We've got team. So I'm currently in America, and then we have team in Australia, Canada, and the UK. And then our manufacturing team is split between the Netherlands and China. So we've got an app coming out and things like that that's going to be developed in Netherlands, but the actual manufacturing is done in China. You'll find that every product is pretty much developed over there nowadays. And then we sell. So we have warehouses in Europe, the UK, and America and Australia. So stock is held in all four of those warehouses, so we can have fast shipping to our customers over there.
That's great. That's awesome. I know my Canadian friends, every time I have a cool product and I'm sharing stuff, they immediately, before even listening to the whole thing, they're like, I won't be able to get this. So
yeah,
that's good to hear.
It's annoying.
I know. I'm Canadian, so I feel the pain completely. It sucks sometimes. Okay, so let's talk about using the blanket. We've touched on it a little bit. I think one of the biggest things that I don't totally understand, perhaps I do, but was a surprise to me, is that you have to wear clothes.
Yeah.
Tell me why, how, why?
It's just, it helps to absorb a little bit of the sweat, and it's just a general safety measure with all of our compliance work that we have to do to make the products internationally compliant with electrical standards and things like that. It's simply something that we're required to say. So people do take off clothes if they want. We have a what's called an experience kit that has a little towel insert that you can use to put into the blanket and remove clothes. But to be honest, a lot of people do prefer it if they wear very light clothes. It's just a nicer feeling than being the skin up against the material of the blanket. But at the end of the day, it's just simply something we've said as a general guideline. So it's nothing, no science behind it, nothing like that.
Yeah, so I started using the blanket with clothes and I'm like, I'm a rebel. I'm just going to try it without. And I like it without. The only problem is the cleanup. Like there's so much sweat that it's like a total mess. It's a total mess.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
I mean, it's
a total mess.
There's a lot of sweat that gets produced, and it's easy to clean, right? Like as long as you just fold the blanket out flat on a flat surface, and obviously if it's not on a flat surface,
put it in the shower.
Yeah. Don't put it in the shower.
Don't do that. That's a joke.
No. And you can clean it up afterwards. It's fine. But yeah, the clothes do help in terms of absorbing some of that sweat.
Completely. I haven't gotten an experience kit yet. I have tried like laying on a towel. It definitely lowers the temperature. Like I don't sweat as much. I find the clothes. Yeah. I went without clothes for a couple weeks, then with clothes. And I was like, oh, right. This is so much easier to clean. My clothes are soaking wet. Like wetter than an hour and a half hot yoga session with like, you're soaked. It's like you went swimming in your clothes.
Yeah. It's great. Love to hear it.
Which is so good. So good. Okay. So we talked about the heating levels. What are your thoughts on how often to use, or what do you guys recommend in that area?
I would say once a day at most, just because it is, to be losing that much water and sweat more than once a day, personally wouldn't recommend it. But once a day, I kind of find a sweet spot at like 3 to 4 times a week, but feel free to go wild within those parameters, I'd say.
Yeah, completely. I do it every other day. I find if I do it more, like if I were to do it every day, I don't think I could keep up with my electrolytes.
Yeah.
I'm detoxing from mold, and so I'm already quite dehydrated. And for those who have mold in their home or mycotoxin illness, you just can't keep up with the hydration required already with mold. And so if mold is your thing, I wouldn't recommend it more than every other day. And even at that, like making sure that you're doing, of course, your element electrolytes, if you guys are into that. I don't even taste the salt in those anymore. They're so good. But yeah, making sure that you're well hydrated is super important, because like you do sweat a whole bunch once your pathways are open.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of sweat, how do you clean it? We talked about like making sure that you are wearing clothes, to help mop up the sweat, perhaps an experience kit. But once you've, showered, please shower directly after. What I do is I get right out of the sauna and shower really well. That gives time for the blanket to cool down. And then once it's cooled, I start cleaning. What do you guys recommend and how to clean?
Yeah. So very similar to kind of how you would clean a yoga mat, apart from there's just more sweat. So like a microfiber towel, or any kind of cleaning towel, you can simply just wipe the sweat away. And then we recommend just spraying it with like a natural antibacterial spray or a bit of tea tree oil or something like that to get rid of any remaining sweat and keep it smelling fresh. And that's it. There's no sweat being, absorbed into the materials and developing a horrible smell over time. I don't think that's just not happening. And yeah, it takes 2 minutes maximum.
Yeah, that's been my experience. Like I said, I shower, I keep it open while I'm showering just to like cool off. And then I take my shower towel and I just wipe up the sweat. And then I grab a clean cloth and I spray it with like distilled water and what's the On Guard combo. It's like a doTERRA mixture. You could also use thieves or, like you said, tea tree oil mixed up in there, and I'll just spray that and wipe it down. Like you said, it takes 2 minutes. It's not hard at all. And once it's cooled, I just fold it up. And do you remember, I don't know if sleeping bags are still like this, because I still have mine from like 1986, but when you'd get a sleeping bag and there's no way you could get it back into the bag, your sauna's not like that. You can actually fold it and it goes back in the bag quite easily. So I was impressed by that.
We had to make sure that happened, because that sleeping bag phenomenon is one of my most hated things, my little pet peeves in the world. So yes, it's very easy to fold up and put back into the bag.
That's great. That's so great. It's nice to know there's somebody else that can't even handle the whole sleeping bag situation. It's like, how did this get in here?
One of those people. I can't.
And I guess the experience of using, kind of backtrack, I forgot to kind of touch on this, and people might have questions because we are talking about materials inside the blanket. If you're laying down on your, like, a bed is really comfortable, you know, you have the blanket out, you're inside the blanket. Can you bend your knees and bend the blanket while you're using it, or do you have to keep pretty still?
Yeah, you'd probably want to keep pretty still. Like, you can move about in it, but you're lying down, and it's going to be, you could put your knees up a little bit, but we try to encourage try not to like bend the wires and things like that. So some people are on like a little incline, you know, if they have like an inclining bed or chair or something like that. But most of the time people are still, it's kind of like a meditative kind of 30 to 45 minutes, you know, you're very still. And the blanket's quite heavy. So to kind of prop it up with your knees would be pretty much a little bit inconvenient and uncomfortable, I'd say.
Yeah, completely. I'm a total weirdo and I love weighted blankets. And a couple weeks ago, I tried putting my weighted blanket on top of me while doing the sauna and actually really liked it. I felt like fast asleep.
Yeah.
So that was good.
That's great.
Okay, so there's something on your website, and I know a couple of the reviews that I was watching on YouTube before I purchased my blanket and some of the like research I was doing, it says that you can burn like 600 calories in a 30-minute session. Is that real? Like, how did you get, like, really? Come on, really?
Yes, well, it's up to 600 calories. So there's actually been studies done, like not our personal studies, but you can burn up to that amount. It just depends on the person, you know. We get a lot of questions on this, and a lot of people on social media, and everyone, people need to understand that burning calories is a very it's a very unique thing for every person. Like, one person A and person B are not going to burn the same amount of calories from doing the same activity. So you can burn up to that amount, and we've had people prove that, some of our customers speaking to us about it, but some people might not. So it's all depends on you, your body, and your body's reaction to it. But you can burn calories. You're burning calories no matter what when you go in it, for sure, which is a big reason why people purchase.
Yes, it's not one of the reasons why I purchased. I could care less about that stuff.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I mean, the amount of sweat that you're doing, the changes I've seen in my skin. I'm using the Kill, Bind, Sweat protocol from Dr. Jess Petros. We had her on the show quite some time ago. I'll put the link in the show notes if you guys want to use something like that in the protocol. Basically, her Kill, Bind, Sweat is to kill with antimicrobials, bind with a binder, and then sweat in a blanket or otherwise. And so that's been really helpful, you know, with chronic illness and things like that I'm working through. So I'll be sure to include that in there, because I think many of the women listening are more in that realm than am I going to burn 200 calories or 600 calories?
Yeah.
My suggestion for our community is, like, get your eyes off the calories. And there's so much more that this blanket can provide than worrying about that kind of stuff.
I would agree. And I think a lot of your listeners will be clued into that as well.
Awesome. Do you feel like I've missed anything, or anything you really want to highlight as to the benefits or anything of the sauna? Or just, you know, at the beginning of today's show, before we started chatting, I kind of went through drainage pathways and benefits of sauna, beyond detox and things like that. Is there anything else that you feel like we've missed today?
Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about the benefits that you feel. I know you touched upon skin and things like that. I mean, there are lots of benefits, but we focus on 6 main ones, which is recovery from exercise, reduce stress, calorie burn, better skin, better sleep, and detoxification. So, I mean, what you said that you've experienced some changes in your skin?
Yeah, it's a lot softer.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
It's far softer, and just my complexion is more even, I would say. And sometimes I'll get like bumps on the back of my arms and on my back. I don't get those. I haven't had those in 2 months. That's just an added benefit. I really just got this because I was going to our community sauna, and it was always filthy and disgusting, and took me so long to like coordinate the time that it was like a 2-hour experience from start to finish. And I just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And I knew that I needed to continue opening up my drainage pathways because I'm dealing with Lyme and mold. And so I knew that this was was important. And so the softness of skin was an added benefit, but I've noticed my symptoms, like I have intense neck and back pain. It's excruciating.
Okay.
And it's helped. I would say it's probably about 50% better, which is huge. Like, because I mean, my neck has hurt for 7 years nonstop. So to be able to have that has just been incredible in my home at a good cost. And I don't need to go anywhere, and it's easy cleanup, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. I mean, the benefits are just phenomenal. So I would say those are two big ones that I've experienced.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. So happy to hear that. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I just love the way that my skin feels when I come out of the sauna, particularly if I have a cold shower afterwards, and your skin just feels...
Yes, of course, essential.
Yeah, just so like tight and flushed out of all the bad stuff, and just you look at it and just feels so healthy, and it's just really, really nice feeling. And if you use it consistently, obviously you're sweating out a lot of those toxins in the skin of the face and helping to clear out some dirt and things like that. So it produces a lot of collagen actually as well, because increased blood flow to the skin in the some more nutrients and blood flow in the skin helps produce collagen, which keeps your skin firm and improves your skin tone.
That's awesome. Oh, yes. Also, two other things that as you were talking, I was thinking of about, I would say 3 weeks into fully sweating and like getting in the groove far more than I did in the community sauna that I was going to. My sweat stunk. Like it was so bad, and some of it dripped into my mouth, and I was like, oh dear Lord, that is not sweat. That is like bleach. What is that? So that was like a really good sign that my drainage pathways were open, and I was actually detoxifying some pretty gnarly stuff. So
yeah,
that made me happy and kind of gave like the check mark. That's when I started thinking, okay, like this is beyond a product that I use, and I really want my community to hear about this and know about the benefits.
That's a really good point, actually.
That was a big one for sure.
If anyone is genuinely curious about that, because it is something that I can appreciate for people that haven't used an infrared sauna before, we get a lot of people being like, sweat's just sweat, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you actually look at your sweat from exercise or a regular sauna, it is much different to the sweat that comes out when you're in an infrared sauna. And the proof is in the pudding. You just need to look at it, and if you're brave enough, smell it.
Yeah, or it drips in your mouth and you're like, oh, why did that happen? It's disgusting.
Yeah. So it's
horrible.
It's really some deep sweat, sweating out some toxins from deep in the body.
And that's where the Killbind sweat protocol from Dr. Jess Petros comes in. I believe she trademarked this protocol, if I believe correctly. So again, I'll include that in the link, because using the kill and the bind together, taking a binder before or after you're in the sauna, it takes it to the next level, because you're kicking up some pretty serious stuff. And for those who are dealing with some pretty serious stuff, it's good to bind it out properly. And I guess the last benefit that I can think of right now, I went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, you look fantastic. Your skin looks like, what are you doing? I'm like, really, the only change is that I'm sweating in a blanket. And she's like, what do you mean a blanket? And so I sent it to her. So that was just good feedback, you know, a doctor that's for my skin telling me my skin looks better and I haven't changed anything else. So those are the benefits. I'm glad you brought that up so we could share our stories. That's great.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear. Because as I mentioned before, everyone has different things that they love it, the blanket and the sauna for. But I'm so happy to hear that you've found those benefits in the detoxing and the skin, and really happy to hear it.
Awesome. Well, Ed, I will include for all those listening, the link will be in the show notes if you want to go check out the sauna blanket from MiHigh. It's healthfulpursuit.com/MiHigh. You can use the code Leanne, that's LEANNE, for $50 off. But another reason I love your guys' blanket, and it comes with a money back guarantee, so you guys can try out the blanket. And if you hate it, you can not have it anymore. So we talked about this in the show, but the product is available in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. So again, that link is healthfulpursuit.com/MiHigh, and use code Leanne, all in caps, for $50 off.
Awesome.
Great. Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed having a conversation with you.
Thank you, Leanne. It was really, really nice to chat.
Okay, so if you loved our interview, you love the idea of sweating, you think that MiHigh might be something you want to check out, head on over to healthfulpursuit.com/MiHigh. That's MiHigh. And when you're checking them out, when you're checking MiHigh out, if you're like, yep, I love their 30-day money back guarantee. I love their warranty. I love that they ship to the US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, all those places. I want to do it. Use that code and let me know what you think. I love getting your selfies of you guys in your little MiHighs and really excited about sweating. It's super fun. I know that I will be going in mine tomorrow, not today, because I only like to do it about 3 to 4 times a week at this point. So yeah, again, it's healthfulpursuit.com/MiHigh. Use the code Leanne, all in caps, for $75 off. Okay, I will see you guys next Tuesday for another episode of the Keto Diet Podcast. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Keto Diet Podcast. Join us again in a couple of days to discover more keto for women secrets for your fat-fueled life. Music for the Keto Diet Podcast provided by Yechi. Follow Jacob on Instagram at Yechi_official and on Spotify as Yechi. That's YECHI. The Keto Diet Podcast, including show notes and links, provides information in respect to healthy living, recipes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Keto Diet Podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without any representations or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.